Hey guys, what is going on? This is Cardinal Bird 5. Today we're continuing our top 10 series. Next we're going to be moving on to starting pitchers. Coming in at number 10 is Clayton Kershaw. Now this is kind of a controversial pick here. I know a lot of people either love Kershaw or they seem to hate him. Personally, from my experience, I've never had great success with him, but I also feel like I really didn't give him much of a chance. However, I faced him enough. I use him enough in online rated. I don't necessarily think he's a bad pitcher. But I do think he's in the top 10. I do think he's worthy of the top 10. Just for the simple fact of his per nines, maybe outside of Verlander and Nolan Ryan, are like you just can't beat it. I mean, if you compare it to the Verlander and the Nolan Ryan, yeah, there might be a little bit better per nines. I think he's like the same as Verlander, but he just has the control, the walks per nine, and the control. Now, I will say a few things I don't like about Kershaw. I don't like his delivery off the stretch. Especially with analog, I find it very difficult to pitch to the corners. I find myself, hitting the fat part of the plate a lot while pitching runners on. Maybe it's just an analog thing. However, I find that you can get away with hanging a lot of pitches to Kershaw. In Diamond Dynasty, it can be a little bit more difficult because it's so easy to stack righties. But you just can't deny the fact he's 5 pitches, some of the best per nines in the game, and it's Clayton freaking Kershaw. He deserves to be in the top 10 one way or another. Coming in at number 9 is Strasburg. This guy just has to be in the top 10. He's one of the easier diamonds to get. He's been in the captain's store. So it's great to see some of these pitchers are making the top 10 list for me. You would think a pitcher that had 87K per 9 could throw up to 98 miles an hour and get a lot more strikeouts. However, this doesn't seem to be the case for Strasburg. I kind of pitch him more like a finesse pitcher, especially against stacked left-handed Diamond Dynasty teams. A lot of people just stack lefties. So his best pitch, and I think one of the reasons he's in the top 10, is this changeup fastball combo. He has 5 pitches, so that's really helpful. The slider. At one point, he did not have the slider, so it's nice to have that slider in that 5th pitch. Really solid per nines. Stamina is pretty good, not a big issue. Control, he's got pretty good control for how hard he throws. So I had to put him in the top 10, guys. I think he's a little bit better than Kershaw. I had a really good ERA with him, so I had to put him at number 9. Coming in at number 8 on our list. Still got to go with Noah Syndergaard. He's still a really good pitcher in the game. I think he would honestly be a top 5 pitcher if we just did not see him so darn much. I think the Captain Store kind of ruined this card a little bit, but don't get me wrong, this is still a really good card. And after using all the flashbacks and all the legend pitchers, I'll just say this, guys. Velo is still the most important attribute when looking at starting pitchers, so I have to put this guy in the number 10. Honestly, I would like to put him a little bit higher. For whatever reason, people just seen him so dang much. It's like something I can't explain. Same for the Chris Sale, other than the fact people's faced him a ton and they used him a ton. They know what people are going to throw. I think if you know how to pitch with this card, you change eye levels, and you face lineups that aren't all left-handed hitters, I think you can be just fine with this card. And if you don't have yourself a Noah Syndergaard and you just don't want to get it because everybody else has it, I can kind of understand that, but if you're looking for a solid rotation guy, you can't go wrong with Noah Syndergaard. Now, he hasn't been pitching well as of lately. He might be headed to the DL. I don't know. I haven't really followed the Mets that closely, so I guess there is that potential he goes down to a gold. I still don't really care. His per nines are there. They're good enough, and the dude throws straight gas, and he has one of the most annoying sinkers. I know when I have to face Syndergaard, I'm not a happy camper just because I hate facing that sinker and changeup. I don't care how many times you see him. It's still a filthy combo when executed properly. Coming in next at number 7 here? This is going to be Justin Verlander. Now, this is going to be after the fact he got the 4-seamer. I think it says running fastball there, but like I said, this was a tough one here. The middle choices are really tough, and you'll see the next 2 choices. It's very tough to rank these cards. But guys, this is still a really damn good card, and it's one of the cheaper flashbacks out there. Plus, if it's just a cool-ass card to use. The per nines are there. The dude with the 4-seamer can now hit 100, so you're kind of looking somewhat similar to a Noah Syndergaard, except he doesn't have like that 2-seamer / sinker. However, he does have a straight change, a good curve. And his slider is a little bit more of a strikeout pitch, whereas Noah Syndergaard's slider is more used as a cutter, which I kind of prefer that type of slider against right-handed batters. Against lefties, I would probably rather have Syndergaard's slider. So I had to give him a slight edge over Syndergaard because of the per nines, and just because I prefer his slider. a little bit more. So this is definitely a good card. I would like to use it a little bit more since he got his four-seamer, but I haven't got to use it much. But still a really solid card and definitely in the top 10. And I think his card has a case for maybe being in the top 5 later in the game. Next up, we have Tim Lincecum. Like I said, this is another solid card. It kind of reminds me of a right-handed Kershaw. You can't go wrong with this card, and it's really hard for me to pick between this card and the Verlander. However, there's something about this card. I feel like it's a little bit easier to pitch to contact. His changeup's nasty. His curveball's nasty. Probably one of my favorite curveballs on the game. Like, I love that 12-6 curveball. Just a solid overall card, and like I said, I think Verlander has a little bit better pronouns. But for whatever reason, I feel like I can pinpoint a little bit easier Lincecum. I like his delivery, and I pitched well with him so far, so I don't really have much to complain about this card. It's a little bit more expensive than the Verlander, so if you're on the verge of picking between one of the two, maybe try the Verlander first because it's a little bit cheaper. My only complaint with this Tim Lincecum card is that he doesn't throw a little bit harder. He can top out at 96 miles an hour. But like I said, he's got somewhat of a funky delivery, and it seems like that fastball can jump on you a little bit. And his fastball is fast enough to make his curveball and changeup effective. That 95 to 96 range. So I still think this is a solid card. I wish he would be able to throw 97, maybe 98, but like 97 would make this card a lot better, I think. Possibly a top 3 card. But nonetheless, I really like the Tim Lincecum card, and I give it the slight edge over Verlander just because of the control. Moving on, next we have the R.A. Dickey. And like I said, between the Dickey, Lincecum, and Verlander, I get this question a lot. Who should I go for? Well, Dickey's a little bit different compared to Lincecum and Verlander. But if you're still trying to go for a solid flashback guy, and you don't have yourself a knuckleballer yet, you might want to try this card out. If you don't have a Tion or Negro or Steven Wright or whatever, you might like this card. Some people like knuckleballers, some don't. It's somewhat of a controversial topic when we're talking about knuckleballers if they're cheesy in the game. I've heard some of my friends say that they think they're really fluky and random. I just agree to disagree. Yeah, the knuckleball can go anywhere, and it can be a little bit fluky at times, but I still feel like with a good approach you can hit knuckleballers. That being said, I like this card because it is a good change of pace from the flamethrowers that you see constantly in the CS and the World Series. So this is just a good change of pace, and I really like this card. It gets the job done. And I wish I could use this card more. Like, I think I've only used it 4 or 5 times, but the times I pitched with him, he's done fantastic. The only thing I will say is that you want to make sure you pitch in a bigger ballpark and you have a good defense behind you. Don't be playing, like, I would recommend Ichiro or somebody in center, but nonetheless, a great card to use. And again, coming next, we have flashback Felix Hernandez. Now, this is kind of bunched in with a group. The 3 previous pitchers I mentioned, you can all bunch them in a group, which flashbacks are the best. I think they're all some of the best flashbacks in the game. I give this one the edge over the previous 3 slightly just because of the sinker baller. I love the sinker ball pitch. My favorite pitch in the game. However, this card is not perfect either. The changeup could be a little bit slower, even though it has really good break. I think it has like 90 breaks, so it's more of a splitter. And his K per 9 could be a little bit better. And I feel like his pitch speeds could have a better variance amongst them. I feel like sometimes it's a little bit difficult to change speeds of him, but nonetheless a great card and probably one of the best. I think he's right behind Arrieta in sinker ballers in the game. So I just love pitching with this card. It's real easy, lefty or righty. That's kind of why I give it the edge, because you can pitch with this card against lefties or righties with that sinker ball. It's just that nasty. Moving on, we have the Nolan Ryan. This is the 97 Nolan Ryan, and this is kind of hard for me to rank. But I'm going to kind of base this off last year. Now, this was my favorite card last year in the game, and I still feel like it would be even more effective this year just because you have to play in Hall of Fame difficulty. But if you look at this card, it is completely nasty. I think it's nastier compared to like even last year's card. Now, compared to the other 2 Nolan Ryans, this one is not by far the best, but I think it's the best. I mean, his per 9s are there, it's nearly maxed out, and the fact that this card throws 99 to 101, similar to like the Verlander, makes him just that nasty, and this changeup is ridiculous. He's pretty much a 2-pitch pitcher, still has a good curveball, and his running fastball can be utilized pretty well against right-handed batters. So it's nice to have that 4-seam in running fastball combination. This card, however, is super expensive and rare, so if you can get your hands on one, good luck. I'm not going to go out there and say go buy yourself a Nolan Ryan because it's super expensive. This is just, again, personal opinion, but if I had to pick a top 5, Nolan Ryan would definitely be in it. This Nolan Ryan would for sure be in that category. I feel like I could do a lot of good things with this card. When I used the 96 Nolan Ryan, I had a lot of good success with him. However, I just wish he could throw a little bit harder, and this is exactly what this card does. It throws a little bit harder. And like I said, velocity, the most important attribute in the game, and that's why this card is so good without having that slider. So definitely, if you guys can try to get this card, maybe test it out. Coming in at number 2, Jake Arrieta. Now, I've kind of went back and forth with this card. At one point, I thought it was the best starting pitcher in the game. It still could be for some, and at times, I still think it is. However, you'll see who I gave number 1 and why I think I got him at number 2. Sinker ball is nasty, guys. This card is really similar to Syndergaard in my opinion, except Syndergaard just throws harder, and Arrieta has a better sinker and better hits per 9, which I find a little bit more valuable in Diamond Dynasty. So, if you guys haven't seen my review on Arrieta, make sure you go check it out. If you guys don't know how to pitch Arrieta, if you're not having success, make sure you check that out, because when I use Arrieta, he is completely filthy. Now, the only complaint I will have with this card is it's not necessarily his K per 9, but it's just the fact that I find it hard to strike out right-handed or left-handed batters. I feel like he can get strikeouts. You know, he can get strikeouts, but I feel like that slider, similar to Noah Syndergaard's slider, it's more of a cutter. And I like that with his sinker-slider combo. I really like his hard slider because it suits him well, because he doesn't throw like 98, 99. He throws 95, 96. So that 91 mile-an-hour slider, I believe, kind of throws people off. With Syndergaard, you're kind of already expecting the harder slider. But nonetheless, I do like his changeup. I like his 12-6 curveball. The 12-6 and changeup aren't super slow. It's not going to make people out in front too much, but it's just enough to get strikeouts. But like I said, the one complaint I have with this card is I don't think he gets enough strikeouts. He's more of a pitch-to-contact guy, but so are a lot of pitchers in DD. But nonetheless, Jake Arrieta, I got to put him in my top 2. And finally, coming in at number 1, we have Jose Fernandez. And I thought about it, guys. This was a really difficult list to put together, and it might change weekly, I don't know. But right now, this is who I feel is the best pitcher in the game. Live series, Jose Fernandez. It might not be the sexiest pick. It might not be the pick you guys want to see. But this card just does everything right. It has excellent per 9s. He can throw up to 97, 98. He has 5 awesome pitches. His changeup has a lot of break. If I was to criticize one thing about this card, it'd be similar to Arrieta, that his changeup is not slow enough. I guess similar to Felix Hernandez as well. His changeup is more of a hard changeup, but when you're throwing 97, 98, it can still work out. It's just that it's a little bit hard to pitch to lefties with this card. But overall, I believe if you're looking for the true number 1 starting pitcher in the game, I give it to Jose Fernandez right now. I just think he gets the job done. I'm never worried when I'm pitching him. I always feel like he's going to give me 5 to 6 solid innings. And he has the capability to go the distance. Like, I love this card. And right now, this is my number 1 starting pitcher. Next, we're going to have some honorable mentions for you guys, so make sure you stay tuned. So our first and main honorable mention is going to be Brett Saberhagen. I really wanted to put him in the top 10. I just couldn't justify myself doing so with his per 9s. I love pitching with Saberhagen. He probably has the best control out of like all the diamond pitchers, maybe outside of Kershaw. But I even give him a slight advantage over Kershaw when it comes to control, just because I don't like Kershaw's delivery. But I had to put him as an honorable mention, guys. He has a really good fastball, slider, changeup combo. Again, if his K per 9 was just a little bit higher, like in the 70s, I definitely would have put him in the top 10. But nonetheless, it's still a really fun pitcher to use, and a really good pitcher nonetheless. Honorable mention, Bob Feller. He's got good stuff, guys, but again, if you watch my review on him, the fact he doesn't have a changeup, I couldn't put him in the top 10. I feel like he can't consistently get out left-handed batters, and plus his control isn't the greatest, so I couldn't put him in the top 10 for that reason, but still a great, fun pitcher. The postseason flashback, John Lester, again, it was really borderline top 10 for me because I pitched really well when I used him. He has very good hits per 9. K per 9 is not the greatest, but again, you're going to be utilizing his cutter and sinker a lot to get a lot of ground ball outs, a lot of jammed outs. So I think he's borderline. He's a good pitcher. He's really cheap to get to, so I have him as an honorable mention. Another honorable mention we can't sleep on is Phil Niekro. Still, he's a knuckleballer. He's nasty. I think he was a top 5 pitcher last year. I think we're kind of sleeping on him this year just because he's a little bit harder to obtain than R.A. Dickey, but I still think he's a really good knuckleballer. I just personally haven't used him this year because card has been super expensive, but I still think he at least deserves an honorable mention. And of course, we can't leave out the infamous Louis Tiant. This card hasn't been really used as much as I thought it would be this year, just for the fact they released it super late. There was some negative feedback on this card when it first came out, because I know a lot of top players, they faced him early and they hit him pretty well. That being said, we haven't really given this card a chance yet. I think in the hands of good pitching, this card can be really good. However, I can't put him in the top 10 just based off the fact he has a knuckleball. His knuckleball is not even that great, honestly. And his per-nines aren't the greatest. His fastballs, like, none of his pitches are amazing, but the fact he has a freaking knuckleball with 4 other pitches, I mean, he's got to be an honorable mention, right, guys? So I had to put him in there as an honorable mention, but he's not a top 10 pitcher to me. Another honorable mention I feel like should be rated higher in the game is Carlos Carrasco. He was a silver for most of the year. Now he's a gold. Just a really good pitcher, 5 good pitches, can throw 97. Has a good break on his breaking balls. I mean, just a really good pitcher, guys. Like, he's not really like super dominant, mainly because of his per-nines. But I really think if you're looking for a good budget pitcher, you want to look at this guy. I just couldn't put him in the top 10 over a pitcher like Kershaw, just because of his per-nines, basically. But he does definitely deserve an honorable mention. All right. And finally, I have Garrett Richards. I don't necessarily think he's a top 15 pitcher in the game. I just think he's a really good silver pitcher, and he's one of my favorite pitchers to use in the game, especially on my other accounts when I'm looking for a good silver beast. He has really good break on his curveball and slider, but I also do want to bring up a few other pitchers that I really haven't had a chance to try out. The Tom Seaver, I think, would probably definitely be in the top 10, so you could almost put him in the top 10 instead of maybe Kershaw. I don't know exactly where he'd rank at. I know I used him a lot last year. I thought Nolan Ryan was a better card. But Tom Seaver would probably be anywhere from 6th to 10th on my list. I don't know. I'll have to use him and try him. There's also the Zach Greinke, which I probably won't get. But honestly, I don't think that card would make the cut. It looks really similar to Live Series. And he just doesn't throw hard enough, in my opinion. Also, if you guys are wondering about the Jake PV, I have tried the Jake PV out for one game, and it wasn't good. It was like, that card doesn't throw hard enough. I'm going to try it out a few more times and try to get a review out for you guys. Maybe there's a certain way to pitch with that card. But yeah, he didn't do very well in his first start, and I thought that card was going to be a little bit better than what it was. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good starting pitchers out there, guys, especially some of the hidden flashback, or the uncommon flashbacks. So make sure to give them all a try. Let me know in the comments, guys, who do you guys think are in your top 10? I know this is a controversial subject because there's so many dang good starting pitchers in the game, and let me know if you guys agree. I know my list isn't perfect, but again, it's all opinion. So let me know what you guys think. And again, I thank you guys for watching the video. This is call number 5 signing out.